The real estate market is shifting. It is starting to favor home buyers now. If you've been on the fence, you've got outbid, you got frustrated over the last couple of years, this is your time to win in this market. I'm going to cover 3 tips to help you understand the buying process and everything that you're going to need to know to go from being a renter to a homeowner. And if we've never met before, my name is Seanu Uyehara. I'm a branch manager with Loan Depot, helping you finance your first home, your second or vacation home, and helping you build your real estate portfolio. I put out content every single week to help you understand the mortgage industry so you can avoid the mistakes that I see clients make every single day, which is going to save you thousands of dollars. And you can hit the description below. There's links to more information. And if you ever need a second opinion on your pre-approval or your refinance, make sure to send me an email. I'd be happy to do a no-cost obligation to make sure you are getting your mortgage right. Now, in this video, like I mentioned, we're going to be talking about easy steps to go from being a renter to becoming a homeowner. But before we hop into the list, a first-time home buyer, all that really means is that you haven't owned a home in the last 3 years. You could have bought and sold properties in the past, but if you have no homeownership interest in the last 3 years, you are technically considered a first-time home buyer. Now, why is that important? That's important because if you're trying to utilize any sort of down payment assistance programs, some of them are very specific in their language that the only person that can qualify for any type of assistance is a first-time home buyer. So you have to make sure that you understand the guidelines. More importantly, you have to make sure your lender understands these guidelines because they could potentially lead you down the wrong path and you may not even qualify for that program. But that's your lender's job to do that research. Obviously, as you're browsing on the internet, you could certainly look up this sort of information, but that's all a first-time home buyer really means. Now, before you get into the home buying process, getting pre-approved, and the rest of the list of what I'm going to share with you, I want you to really think about several things first. This, to me, really sets up a good foundation to go from being a renter to a homeowner. Now, there's 4 things that I really want you to think about and understand before you get there. The first thing is your savings. Do you have a savings or do you not have a savings? That may sound like an obvious thing to think about, but you'd be surprised how many people I talk to in my 15-year career that don't understand how much money that it really takes to buy a house. Again, you might be utilizing a down payment assistance program, which is amazing, but you still want to have some sort of rainy day fund. I mean, even Dave Ramsey and some of these other financial gurus are always talking about having a nest egg, having a rainy day fund. Some of them say you should have 6 months worth of savings. Some say a year. So you need to look at your financial savings right now, and you need to look at that and determine how much of my monthly bills can I save up at this time. Because you have to remember, when you buy a home, fixing the house and everything that comes along with the responsibility of being a homeowner is on you at the end of the day. And I can tell you, when I bought my first house, how many trips did I make to Bed Bath & Beyond, Lowe's, Home Depot, literally every single weekend because I didn't know what I needed. And I would spend Saturdays and Sundays buying one thing, going home, realizing I got the wrong item or I had to go back, buy another thing, which costs time and money. So you have to understand, how much money do you have saved up? What do your bills look like? What are you spending money on? Are you throwing money away on streaming services like Netflix, Hulu, and all these other things that we get thrown at every single day that you can sign up for, whether it's $9.99 here, $14.99 for this? These costs tend to add up. You have to understand, where are your expenses going? Can you minimize some of these expenses? Maybe even eliminate some of them. Because if you can eliminate those expenses, it's going to help build your savings. These two will go hand in hand. And the better understanding you have of what your financial budget looks like, it will help you become a successful homeowner. Because the last thing that you'd want to do is get into a house to then become house poor, which basically means you're working day and night just to make your mortgage payment. This is where a lot of people got in trouble back in 2008. They bought homes and over-leveraged themselves and could not really afford those payments. Given in today's market, you truly do have to qualify for the mortgage. However, you don't want to be at that high end of your qualification budget, because if you don't have a savings, you're one emergency away from not making your mortgage payment. So again, these 4 things that I'm sharing with you right now, in my opinion, are the foundation for you to become a great homeowner. The third thing you really want to get a handle on is your credit. Now, many of you might be unaware of what your credit score is. I know a lot of our credit cards that we have these days give us credit information. It's not always accurate, but it's a good barometer just so you have an idea of where your score potentially is. I've said this before, Credit Karma and these other websites, they give you an idea what your score is, but it's typically 50 to 70 points higher than what a mortgage lender will pull when we look at your credit report. So again, might be a good ego booster to see that you got a 780, but what if in actuality you have a 700? Now 700 is not bad, but you might get complacent in the fact that, hey, I think I have such an amazing credit score when you really don't. So you have to take precautionary steps and know exactly what you're working with. Now, another important thing on why I'm stressing your credit is because if there's any inaccuracies on your credit report, maybe you made a couple of foolish decisions when you were younger and they're still haunting you to this day. And I know the tendency for most people is to just turn the shoulder and just not pay attention to it and just hope that it's going to go away at some point. But when you're buying a house, we're gonna see all that information. So if it's a cell phone bill that you didn't pay because you felt slighted by the cell phone company, you might wanna just pay that bill. I've had clients in the past that have literally refused to pay bills that were like $150, and the interest just continues to accrue and accrue and accrue. And as the collection gets sold from one company to the next, they're just adding more fuel to the fire. Why not just pay the $100, the $200, the $300 and call it a day? Stop the bleeding. Because if you continue to let the creditor report you late, your credit score will never recover. And you're just hoping that one day it gets removed from your credit report. So in my opinion, I would just face whatever negativity is on there, pay it, be done with it, and move on. You have to do that if homeownership is a goal of yours. So get a good understanding of what's on your credit report. Start working on that today because it may take several months for you to fix it. Don't wait till the last minute to where you get this epiphany that you want to be a homeowner and you want to go buy a house today. You got to start in advance. Start planning today. And number 4, figure out what your comfort level is as far as your payment goes. This is another important step. This is why I'm including this in my foundation, because if you don't know what you're comfortable paying, you will get blindsided by your mortgage payment when you move into your house. I know this because when I first bought my place, I had 2 other roommates that were living with me. Now, we were all splitting the rent at the time, which is fine and dandy, but when you go and buy a house and your name's on the mortgage statement, you need to make the payment. Given they still lived with me and helped me make the mortgage payment, but once they moved out, that payment was now on my shoulders to be paid. And another thing too is that when you are living in a home, and let's say you're single and you live by yourself, the water bill comes in your name, the trash bill comes in your name, your electric bill comes in your name, your gas bill comes in your name. There's all these other costs that get added to the monthly payment every single month. And again, I go back to when I bought my first house. I swear, every day I checked the mail, I felt like there was another bill in there. So if you're not accustomed to that, you might want to create a separate account to where you make these extra payments. Maybe pay that money back to yourself in a separate account that you just don't touch. Open up a bank account where it's really difficult for you to get the money out. So that way you can start to create the habit of making that same expense every single month. So when you do move into your home, this becomes second nature and it's super easy for you to accomplish. Again, you don't want to have payment shock to where you get your first mortgage payment and you're just like, holy smokes, what did I get myself into? And now you start to regret your home purchase. In fact, I just read an article that said that about over 70% of new homeowners have some sort of regret about their home purchase. You don't want to be that person because home ownership should be an amazing thing. You should not go into it thinking, why did I do this? And this is why, again, I think if you follow these 4 steps and you have a good foundation, you won't be part of that 70% that might regret owning a home. Now, when we break down in its simplest form, the easiest steps to buying a home, it really boils down to 2 things. Forget the 8-step process and all the nuances and everything that you need to buy a house. It really boils down to 2 things, and I'm going to give them to you right now. The first step is getting pre-approved. Do not skip this process. I don't care what your lender tells you. I don't care what your real estate agent tells you or any of your friends or family. If they tell you to skip this process or to take shortcuts during this process, they are doing you a disservice. And the reason is the pre-approval is going to answer, in my opinion, probably 80 to 90% of all of your questions, your fears, your concerns, and it will put you at ease because the pre-approval will give you an idea of what you qualify for, how much money you're going to need as a down payment, how much cash to close will you need? Because remember, your closing costs are separate from your down payment. All the finances of what it's going to take to become a homeowner is going to be answered by your loan officer. And for those of you that have been watching my channel for the last couple of years, you know that I always stress strategy is more important than rate. This is the one thing that your loan officer should be sharing with you. They should be able to come up with at least 2 to 4 options to show you how to buy a house. If they can't do that, they're doing you a disservice. So instead of shopping for the lender who's got the lowest interest rate, you want to look for the best option. And what I mean by option is looking at loan comparisons, because you might look at potentially a down payment assistance program, but because you follow my foundational 4 steps earlier, you also have some money saved up. So is an FHA loan better for you, or maybe a conventional loan? But you need to know what the difference is on paper. What does that look like? Because I could sit here on this video and I could really explain to you the difference between all 3 loan programs, but a lot of that might go over your head. So you need to see that, in my opinion, on paper. And that's what a good loan officer should do. So that way you truly see, if I take option A, B, or C, how much money does that take? What does it really cost me? So you can digest the information and you can make the best decision for yourself. Now, once you've gotten pre-approved, you've given your lender all your paperwork, you've gotten your credit pulled, you've gone through the entire process. In my opinion, you should feel really confident about your home purchase. Then the easy part comes in play, which is finding a house. But remember, you need to find a good real estate agent. And the reason why I say you need to find a good realtor is that in the last couple of years, there was a lot of people that got into the mortgage and real estate industry. There were deals falling from the sky. Rates were in the 2s and 3s. Everyone wanted to buy a house. Everybody wanted to refinance. So it didn't really take a true professional to understand how to get a mortgage done. You literally could throw it against the wall and it would work. Same thing on the real estate side. A lot of people got into the real estate business because people wanted to sell. People were working from home. They were relocating all across the country. You put a house on the market today, you got 30 offers, it sold $50,000 above what you thought you was gonna sell for, and the next buyer was willing to pay cash. It didn't take a lot of work, let's be honest. So you wanna make sure that whoever you decide to work with, they are a true professional. They do this industry, whether it's mortgage or real estate, full time. Because you want someone to know how to negotiate for you, because we are in a shifting market. So you want a buyer's agent to represent you and to be in your corner to have your best interests in mind. I know that sounds a little obvious, but I see a lot of mistakes that get made simply because a buyer wants to use their cousin, a friend, or just someone that they know to throw them some business. Sometimes the decision to do that can cost you thousands of dollars in buying the wrong property. Now that you've gone through the pre-approval, you've bought your house, the next thing is to really understand how to maintain your mortgage. This is the important part, that you've now gone from a renter to a homeowner. So this is part of our 3-step process to understand how easy it is to become a homeowner. But most importantly, now that you're a homeowner, you have to understand how to maintain your mortgage, which means, do you understand strategies on how to pay your home off faster? Whether that's making bi-weekly payments, whether that's doing a mortgage recast. In fact, I go into more details on several strategies in another video, so make sure to check out my playlist and you can watch that full video for yourself. But also knowing when is the right time to refinance. Because once you own a home, let me tell you this, you will get mail like you could not believe from mortgage companies trying to get you to refinance. They come up with so many creative ways to get you to refi when really there's no benefit to you. So you have to understand the reason of the refinance and what does that tangible benefit look like to you as a homeowner. I've had clients that unfortunately did not call us to do an analysis and they refinanced for no apparent reason, and it cost them $3,000, $5,000, $6,000 sometimes. And the lender that they're working with, they don't necessarily care about you. All they need to do is make a commission. So this is why, so that 3-step process that I just mentioned, from pre-approval, purchasing your home, and understanding how to maintain your home is the foundation of what it takes to go from being a renter to a homeowner. Now, I hope you can take my foundational 4 steps, start implementing them today so you can get yourself from being a renter to a homeowner. And remember to share this video with any friends or family that are needing some inspiration and maybe a little roadmap to get them across the finish line. And if you ever need a second opinion, I'm always here for you. Shoot me an email below and I'm happy to help. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video.